our first meeting of the year. And I would like to start with sort of a point of personal privilege. Unfortunately, I have a terrible cold and cough, so our second selectman, Beth Hellauer, has graciously agreed to run the meeting so that hopefully I can make it through the meeting. Thank you very much, Beth.
Just stay.
Yeah, I'll
Feel
keep my
better.
distance.
Stay right over there. Thank you. I'll do my best.
I know.
You okay?
Yes.
All right. Item number 1 on the agenda is the Woodbridge Board of Education Superintendent Dr. Stella, and he's here. So welcome, Dr. Stella.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, good evening, everyone, and a Happy New Year to everyone. And I remembered to put on my scarf, my hat, my mittens, and just about everything else today. We're in the third day of a bitter cold. I want to thank the town, too, for all the services they've been providing recently with preparing our lots and our roads with on our bad weather days. As you know, our boilers are being replaced, but they're not quite ready. Our facilities director has been running around the past 3 days from one end of the building, that's 170,000 square feet, to the other, replacing one thing after another, many times with parts that just don't exist anymore. They're outdated or unavailable. So we've contacted someone who helps to create new parts and so on, trying to hold it together. We've had to move some classes of children from one place to the other for lack of heat, but everyone is flexible and everyone's working together, especially during severe weather times. The good news is that the contractors have been working on the new boilers on the installation for several weeks. You could actually see the 3 new boilers in already. They look wonderful. They look so small compared to the very large oil burner. And they're planning to fire off the new boilers for a brief time in order to perform pressure tests. The contractors will be back on Saturday to fire them off and commission all 3 boilers. If all goes well, we'll be running on the new boilers beginning this Saturday. And it wouldn't have happened without your help. So that's pretty record time considering everything. So thank you so much for that. Slightly ahead of schedule. We're then going to let them run for a couple of weeks before they begin the removal of the old one, just to make sure everything is working well, especially during these tough winter days. As we experience below temperatures with this phenomena of the polar vortex, I'm very fortunate, consider myself very fortunate to be superintendent in a town that supports Beecher Road School and the educational community so much. On behalf of the Board of Education and me, I would like to thank you for your help in replacing the boilers. Again, it would not have happened without that terrific support that you've given. It has really been a wonder to see. I'd also like to thank the many volunteers who, over the years up to the present time, have worked on the building committees and the present building committee, too, that have moved us closer to that much-needed building upgrade. We have the boilers, you made it happen, and hopefully with your continued support, the other critical upgrades will receive the same attention. The children and the citizens of Woodbridge will be the beneficiaries of that. What I'd like to say, too, is that the arts continue to thrive at Beecher Road School no matter what the season of the year. We recently had a school-wide winner in the annual statewide fire prevention contest. It was a 4th grader. And on January 22nd at 7 p.m., we'll hold our annual winter concert at Beecher Road School. On behalf of the children who are participating, who will be performing, I extend a personal invitation to you to join us for a delightful evening of musical splendor. So once again, thank you for your support, and have a wonderful new year. Yes, of course. I'm sorry.
I did hear about that. We had this in classrooms. In other words, children, those rooms weren't heated and you moved them to other classrooms?
Yes, that's...
How many rooms were affected to that degree?
It varies. I mean, this is not just this year. It's been happening the past years, too. For example, half of our third grade wing was down today, so we had to move 2 or 3 classrooms there. It varies from one end to the other. Our second grade class was down. And our facilities director is a fantastic man. He has a tremendous amount of skill. And if the heat is down in one room, sometimes he's able to get it up in a couple of hours and get the classroom back. But for example, one third grade class, the motor is different from the one in the other class, and it's just not made anymore. So he had to spend time, again, making contacts with someone who would kind of do some handwork on it to get it going, and that classroom would probably take 2 or 3 days to do it. So fortunately, the teachers, the children, we have adopted to this in many ways. Children come in with layered clothes and so on. It's not that all the classes are down, but on a daily basis, on cold weather like this, we do have to move classes. And we always do it for the welfare of the children when we do it. But we don't. The teachers don't miss a beat. Like for example, one third grade class moved to the library. Immediately, boards were set up right away. The lessons went on, and so on. So everyone is working together. But there is a need for that upgrade, and there's only so much you could do with parts that aren't made anymore. So again, we do appreciate everything that has been done. A lot of work has been done in planning for this year. So we hope it comes to fruition. But okay. Any other questions or no? Okay, thank you.
Now we'll move to item 2, the use of pesticides on playing fields.
Good evening, everybody. Just to let you know, for the past 2012, 2013, we haven't been using pesticides or any of our ball fields. Nothing. That means no insecticides, no herbicides, no synthetic fertilizers, nothing that's bad for the environment at all. Not bad for the wells, the children, nothing. We're starting to use organic fertilizers, organic nematodes, a little microscopic worm that controls the insect that I spray onto the grass, then water it in, which basically destroys this grub. There's a beetle that flies around. There's several beetles that fly around in July, mate, lay eggs in the grass, and they hatch, and then they pupate into a little bug, a white little grub that just eats the roots of the grass. And that, of course, destroys the grass. So this nematode destroys them. So I've had some good luck in 2012. 2013 was a little iffy. You have to spray it on a rainy day, on a cloudy, rainy day. I sprayed, center field, West River, the Alleghe ball field. Then when I got to Acorn Hill ball field, the sun came out. And when the sun comes out, that's all she wrote. It's $1,000 to take care of all 4 fields. So I left it, see what it would do. We had a little damage up at the ball fields, from meaning that grub that's in the ground that's eating away. There's a skunk that lives in the woods out, and he comes out at night and digs up the grass and eats those little grubs. That's caviar to him. So once he starts digging, it's like someone rototilled the grass. So I have to come in and overseed it, and hopefully that it grows back and go from there. On the other aspect of we've been doing about the organic program is we're doing a lot of overseeding, a lot of deep tine air fying to alleviate compaction, so the grass, it really loves growing. I've had some issues with crabgrass control on some of the clay areas on the ball fields. And we're going to be hiring extra high school kids to help eradicate that. That means a lot of rototilling, more weed whacking around the fencing. But it's been good. I definitely don't like spraying pesticides. I'm sure everyone here doesn't like spraying pesticides. It helps everywhere, from the brook in your backyard to where it goes all the way down to the ocean. For everything, no matter what it is. So I'm very positive to what's going on, and I feel like it's going to get better. It's costly, but graciously, you guys have given me the money for the right tools, and I think it's going to even get better. And I think the grass even looks nicer. It's greener. You could drive by center field, and it's like, wow, it's nice. So it's a good thing. They should all be very happy.
Anyone have any questions?
Recreation in working with the baseball Fathers League as well as the soccer is concerned, or maybe more concerned, that the grubs which brought the skunks which brought the hose brought a couple of injuries in the outfield. They're claiming that because the skunks wreaked havoc, especially at Acorn, there was a few players that got hurt. Somebody twisted an ankle. As you know, they caused, I guess, a pretty substantial hole.
Right.
So their concerns are, without the pesticides, they're seeing more injuries and they're worried about further. They also talked about the clay, and I agree with you, hopefully just more manpower to do it manually, clean it up. That doesn't concern me. The holes concern me if what they're saying is true, which is they've had direct injuries from those holes. Is there anything else we can do without changing back to pesticides to either alleviate the skunk issue, or is there another way? Is there something?
I've thought about this a million ways, and
Especially Acorn, because Acorn is like our premier ball field area, is that I'll spray, when I start spraying in the morning, when I know there's rain. And like in the past, it was raining, it was cloudy, I was spraying it, and sun did come out. I will spray Acorn first. It doesn't have the best irrigation system. That's a problem for me. It's a big problem, because I have to spray it and then irrigate it on top of the mist and the fog and the rain. I mean, I don't want to be out there in pouring rain. You got a little motor on the back of the sprayer. It's ridiculous. But that's the first field I'm going to be spraying now.
And that's the field that's having most of the issues.
It is. It is. It's just it's wooded right there. It's not like West River. There's families and homes around, and the skunk's not around too much. But and there's premium topsoil up there. It's the most beautiful grass you could ever want in your entire life for your house. It's the best. So that's what I'm going to do, is spray it first. And I'm just going to be more vigilant on watching the weather more. I mean, I was like, oh my God, the sun's out. And in running that irrigation, it's a well. It's only 75 feet deep, and it hasn't gone dry, but it's gone down, fluctuated. And I'm like, oh boy, it's not city water. We just turn on, you leave it. So that's the only thing I can do. There's no other remedy other than spraying that nematode on that grass.
How many applications a year do you do per
Once a
field?
year.
Just one.
Once a year, and it's
So if
critical.
that fails, then
Well, it's critical on timing too, because that grub it's in a pupa stage, and then it hatches into the grub. When it's young, that young grub is the best time to control it. Once it starts getting in a certain adult stage, it's almost impossible to control. You're going to use, even when insecticides, which usually smoke them, is what we call the green industry, you won't be able to control them because they'll be just too big, too strong, and they'll eat too fast.
go in this direction, it occurs to me maybe if we have water tank trucks, don't we?
that's not enough.
It's not enough water?
No way. You guys understand, one sprinkler head.
Just one little itty-bitty sprinkler head will put out 15 gallons in 1 minute. Times that by 7, and then I got to run at 15 to 20 to 25 minutes. It's staggering amounts of water. And nobody realizes that. That's just mind-boggling. And then, like at a leggy, I have a sprinkler head that runs 30-plus gallons a minute, times 7 sprinkler heads, times 20 minutes. Compute that. That's a lot of water. So that well is, I gotta baby that well. I can't just run it full bore. So that's an issue too. I have to work with up at Acorn.
Alleghi didn't have the skunk problem, is that right?
Well, that's the first field. That was my baby. I always because it was new, and I tried it.
It had no topsoil on it, and I always tried to take care of that the most. And I've always started there first. You better remember, it's only been 2 years.
So the real issue is just that right now, at least at Acorn.
It is at Acorn, and we've had some little bit of
It
issues.
was at center field. Remember, it was starting to get sunny. those nematodes are little microscopic. You couldn't see them with your naked eye. It's like a little piece of paste, like toothpaste. You put it in 160 gallons of water. You stir it around. So as soon as that light comes out, they're done. They're done, especially if the sun comes out. And if you spray them and the sun comes out and they're on that grass, you gotta remember, I'm driving down a field with a tank with a spray boom, spraying these nematodes out there. And as soon as I'm off and getting ready to come back, the irrigation is coming on right behind me. So, and like I said, I don't want to be spraying in the pouring rain, but I might have to do that. I might be, it would immensely benefit it.
So realizing there's no guarantee.
Yeah.
I guess what I'm trying to get is, you think, in your opinion, you can basically control that grub situation enough that hopefully it'll keep the skunks away, and the problems we had, hopefully were.
Anthony, I'm gonna try my best. You know, so this nematodes hasn't been on, it's been on.
A long time for some people, not in the green industry, not in the golf course industry, not in the, the turf industry. It's only in its infancy. So, I'm learning, as everybody else is. So,
You don't feel the need to go back to pesticides, at least at this point.
let's go a little bit further. And I personally don't think a little piece of soil, I don't know if they're saying that, someone's tripping. I don't know if it's true or not. It's a small patch of soil out in the grass. Maybe. Kids fly ball and it goes from grass to soil. Are they tripping on it? I wouldn't, but, I'm not 9 years old, but maybe it is happening. Other than doing what I'm telling you guys, let's just keep on going. And it might get better. I'm not sure, because this is new. This is definitely new. There's no other, control other than I found in those nematodes. There's no other control to control those. And there's just like 4 species of those grubs out there.
So you put the application down springtime?
No, I put it down in late August, early September.
So if we go another year, we'll find out after this summer where we stand after the next application.
I mean, what I could have done is went up to Tony and said, listen, Tony,
I'm pretty confident that this nematode control up at Acorn didn't work. I need an extra $1,000, and if it comes to that, then I'll do that. Do we go that way in all the ball fields? It's now it's going to start getting really expensive. And I don't really do the control that I try to do up at Acorn, say down at West River. There's no irrigation down there. It cooks in the summer. There's nothing I could do about it. There's just absolutely nothing. You can't do it. No matter how many water wagons or fire trucks you put out there, you can never keep up with it. And it's like $90,000+ to put irrigation down there. Everyone's accepted it. I mean, there's a few people, but I think overall, majority are very happy that there's no pesticides. But I'm going to try my darndest to do Acorn and control it. I don't want to see that, not at all. Yeah.
First, I apologize to the board for my late arrival. And second, at the risk of prolonging the discussion, I was a liaison to the Recreation Commission, and commissioners and Recreation Department staff have been consistent in the concerns you describe, even dating back even before the town adopted this policy. And I noticed we have the benefit of the presence of the recreation director, and so I just thought maybe we'd invite him to chime in if he's so inclined.
Sure, I have pictures. I took pictures the first year of all the fields. I did all center field, I think West River too. I took pictures of all the fields. I have exactly what it looks like when we started, when we had pesticides and like this. And we're going to take pictures again this summer because it's been 2 years into the program, and we'll just compare the pictures and see where we're at.
Yeah.
But at this point right now, it looks pretty good. I was just thinking of maybe have a hard trap or some traps up there.
I put one up there in some store.
I'll have a heart.
I'm going to drive a stake in the ground with the backhoe, and then put a chain through it. They're going to have to cut it. So.
But that's the only other thing like that. I
There's
think
a bald eagle.
Adam's doing a great job. We do see a lot of weeds growing into the clay areas and things like that. And we talked about that. Give some high school kids the opportunity to come out and work for the department and clean it up and road till along the edges and weed whack. I think we can catch up with it. We can do do it.
It's not it's not what it used to be.
It's not going to be that way as far right now. It might be in the future because everybody is starting to change over to this. I mean, everybody. I'm talking from the entire United States. They don't want pesticides because when you start spraying stuff and it washes down to Long Island Sound where you want to go fishing and there's no fish there, we all got to look ourselves in the mirror. Are we doing the right things?
Well, Recreation's on board. Recreation's on board with them.
And it's not
What he's
perfect.
doing-
It's not perfect.
What he's doing is the correct way to go.
You know, and I fought it. I really did. But now I'm the opposite way because I'm fishing down there. You know, it's just we could put up a little bare spots, Anthony, maybe a little bit. You know, and it doesn't have to
You
be.
want to protect the
perfect.
environment. You want to do exactly what
Yeah.
you're saying. I fish the Farmington River, and there's parts of the Farmington River you have to release, catch and release, and can't keep because of the PVCs, whatever's in the fish that's coming off from all the different places. So I think we're in the right direction.
I think so too. I mean, we'll learn it. We're good.
Maybe you could talk to Dwight, and maybe there's the one area where they go to child. I guess a child from another town was the more serious injury that gave them concern. So maybe he knows exactly the area. It's a little area that can be patched up, or
Right.
Ellen wants to say something, so.
I'm going to try.
She's going to try.
I do want to say that I think it's a terrific program, and your dedication to it, Adam, really makes a difference, and the support of the Recreation Commission, because it's not something that just takes care of itself. You have to really care and put yourself into it. So I wanted to thank you. It's really important, and it's important for the health of the children as well.
no,
Thank you all for that.
for it. You know.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ellen.
Thanks.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
See ya.
Okay, item 3, I see Terry Collier here regarding the update on the community playground.
Should we pass this around? It's new views of the playground that actually, the PO was cut by Tony on the 23rd, and so this is what the playground design is going to be.
Maybe
for
we'll
the
just maybe you could just point out some of it to
Oh,
us, like
sure.
what it is.
So we actually changed the playground equipment. The playground equipment, we decided to utilize Miracle's new state-of-the-art equipment, and we do have some brochures if you want to take a look at those. The reason for that is because it is just released at the end of 2013. It's the top of the line playground equipment, as well as just the concept and play has changed so that there's a lot more you can actually be more creative in your play. So it's not, I need to slide down a slide and I need to climb up this ladder. So you can actually be more creative. The children can actually have more creativity in their play, but there's a lot of safety variables in here that other playgrounds may not have. For instance, the 5 to 12 unit has a 25-foot tall tower, which seems outrageous to go 25 feet in the air, but it's completely enclosed up above. It has 3 levels. It's ADA compliant, so children who are wheelchair bound will actually be able to integrate and play with their peers, as well as the fact the only place that they can't go is all the way to the top because you have to actually use a ladder system for that. But the children can actually integrate their play. So we wanted to incorporate items such as that. We changed out, instead of a typical merry-go-round, we swapped it out for a new unit that actually has seats as well as standing components. So once again, it's ADA compliant. Children who are wheelchair bound could be taken out of their wheelchair, put into the bucket seats, and integrate their play with their peers. And so there's other safety variables incorporated in here, as well as trying to make the playground as all-inclusive as possible. There's only one item on our playground now that's not ADA compliant. There's pirouettes where the children actually have to stand on it and they use their body movement to rock back and forth. They have them at Beecher, and I know that the children stand 20 deep to get in line to use that one little unit. So we decided to incorporate 2, and then we're looking for town, corporate sponsorship in the community to add a few more because they can be placed anywhere. So, but we did provide other units for the kids who have mobility issues so that they can actually be integrated into the playground. And then we chose a very unique color scheme, which Terry has samples of. So we wanted to go something that was unique to the town and unique to other towns surrounding us. And it's a very heavyweight product. And so we decided to go with a blue, like a steel gray. The blue actually has a speckle to it, so it's metallicized, and a nice chartreuse. So we wanted to be unique and different. The playground, we are the first playground in the state of Connecticut that actually has this 25-foot tower. So we have a really good chance, per John Hollerback from Creative Recreation, to go into Miracle Recreations. They will probably, most likely, Miracle wants to come and there's a strong possibility that they will photograph our playground and incorporate it in their catalog brochure. So, which is another nice feature. So, and then, the 5 to 12 unit, we tried to incorporate the same color scheme and also ADA compliance, so it has ramping systems throughout, so it allows inclusive play. And, we wanted to incorporate some unique slides that the kids would enjoy, that we've had feedback from. And then we did get a lot of interest from the community. We've had a few major organizations who are interested in actually adding in a basketball court. And what that will do is be the first outdoor basketball court for the town. And it will be close enough to the playground that it'll be part of the playground. It'll be incorporated and added in by Creative Recreation, so there won't be any work on the town's part for installation of it. And it's only $12,500 for a basketball court, including the actual hoops. And then the hoops themselves and the playground, if there's a need in the future, they have a safety monitoring system that actually, it's children between the ages of, 15 and 21?
Yeah.
Your hearing is different at that age. And so they have this system, they put these like little high frequency balls onto some of the playground equipment. And so it deters young adults from utilizing the playground in off-peak hours.
How does it work on slopes?
Yeah, well, let's hope with our AstroTurf.
We don't have any stops. I don't like this grass. I'm trying to get bang for the buck. Yeah, exactly. And I don't really think skunks like wood chips, so we should be pretty good. So,
and then our surface materials, Terry has some samples here that we brought in. We're going to go with AstroTurf. It's very green, and it's no maintenance. And so we like the idea of that, and I'm sure the town does too. And our walkways, et cetera, will be this asphalt composite. So, and we're going to actually use this color scheme because it coordinates. So it'll actually be, it won't be your typical, it's actually poured in place, but this won't be your typical just black material. It'll actually have the blue speckle to it. And any of our walkways, we are doing a brick campaign. But if any of our if we do have to put in any asphalt in on the playground, our asphalt can actually be colored also. So we can do a blue, we could do a green. There's quite a few different color schemes that we could do to kind of enhance it and not make it look, industrial. So our playground is costing, we tried to stay within our budget. It's $198,010, and we have almost $2,000 to play with. We do have some add-ons. We had the basketball court and a picnic pavilion, as well as some benches and some trash receptacles. Those items, we feel strongly that we can easily get funded from the community, and that's what we've been working on, is trying to get those funded. We should actually have even if those components don't get added, we would still have a really fantastic, $250,000 plus playground for the town. So which was our main goal.
Any questions?
Any questions?
I'm not so sure about these add-ons. You want to add them, or you basically already put them in your plan?
If we get the community to fund them, then those prices are all inclusive. So they include, they would include installation, site work, installation, the actual equipment themselves, and any sort of surface materials. So if we can add them in, we thought it would be a bonus to the town to enhance the playground and add in a few things. One of the things that has come back to us, we have companies that have said, you know what, my daughter loves the pirouettes.
absolutely loves them. It's her favorite item. I'd be willing to pay for an extra pirouette. Would you be interested if we, I'd like to give a donation. I'd like to do more than a brick. Are you interested in adding a pirouette? So, we can add in playground pieces by doing so within the confines of the space that we're allotted, but it would enhance the playground. And I know that many towns, such as Cheshire, have done that where, they may get a donation. We've gone to the playground and you go one time and then you go the next time and they have a rock wall that they didn't have before. It's still installed by Miracle Playground and it's completely covered and it's within the confines of the playground space, but it just is another enhancement for the kids. So that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, I didn't really mean necessarily the different apparatuses. I do have a little concern though when you talk about basketball or picnic area. I don't remember us discussing that as a place for basketball or picnic. It may be appropriate, it may not. I would have to think about the residents in the area as well. Basketball does bring a little bit of a louder and later time span to it. I'm not sure that's something we discussed before. And can you tell me the total space?
There's no lights.
It's not a regulation size basketball
Yes.
court.
Yeah, I
it's just a
understand.
playground line, so it's condensed, more aimed for the younger children.
Older children like younger children's apparatuses because they can dominate them.
But the purpose wouldn't be to have it, at night. It would close with the park as well, same as the soccer fields.
Yeah.
Yeah, part of our in the picnic pavilion was something that was suggested to us, and it was more of an idea of if you're there already for the soccer field or when the proposed ball field is actually built, then you may want to you might be there for a while. You may want to bring your lunch and sit under a pavilion instead of sitting on the little strip of bleachers that are there or sitting on a bench. Because if you're sitting on a bench, you're going to be seated within the confines of the playground where there's 2 to 12-year-olds running around. Whereas if you had a little bit something a little bit off to the side, you could actually sit down with your kids' friends or whatever and enjoy a meal that you brought. But it's still within the use of when you're at the playground or at the soccer field or at the ball field.
Yeah, I think that's something I'd like to talk about further, but can you just give me one more answer to what was the total space ended up with the design as formed?
What was the exact space? 150 by 150.
Yeah.
And that's still going to be in the original area?
Correct.
Yep.
Great.
So what action's required from us on this?
Nothing, this is
Nothing,
an
it's already
update
done, yeah.
because there were
Well, it was
changes
already done, but it was different equipment, and there was no basketball court. So, listen, first of all, I'm all for kids and everything, but the notion that people can raise money and put up basketball courts without approval is a little disturbing. We approved something different than that.
I think we approved a ADA compliant playground. I don't know if we.
But we were showing a totally
Specific.
different set of equipment, and this could
I
be
don't
fine.
think we. No.
I didn't think we approved a plan, but we'll check.
We'll check on it.
And I'm all for it, but I just think it would be nice to get a total vision and specs of what this is, and then just approve it and go do it.
And
Not add-ons and stuff that.
there's currently some picnic tables over by the soccer field, is that right? If I remember,
There's
there's
a
a bench,
couple
picnic
wooden
tables?
ones, yes. And then
Yeah, I know they're not
bleachers.
nice ones, but there's a
Yeah.
couple on that side towards the
Yes,
soccer field.
yes. Freestanding, they just actually sit on the
Right.
ground. Exactly.
One other quick
So-
question, you mentioned 250,
Mhm.
but the budget was 198?
We received a $67,000 grant from
Okay,
Miracle
I remember
Recreation.
that. Okay, good.
Yes, and actually John Hollerback from Creative Recreation went back to Miracle for us twice to try to secure as much as he possibly could, because this playground equipment actually costs substantially more than what our original design had. So to be able to accommodate that, we took out a sand area, which is an add-on if somebody wanted to fund a sand area. We actually incorporated them into the design so that we could show you a visual. But if for whatever reason they're not approved, then that's perfectly fine. They can easily be taken out. This is the sand area, this is the basketball court, and this is the picnic area. The playground itself still stays. So the reason that we put them in and then subtracted a few things out, such as the sand area, is because the sand, to put in sand and to put in tables that were ADA compliant, they were actually high mounted tables. they still require a lot of maintenance. And as Anthony Taddy is well versed in, it doesn't always happen. So we felt that it might be a burden to the town to have a sand area because it's unsanitary and it requires a lot of maintenance and a lot of fill of sand. And so, you know, if the town or if somebody felt that this was something that was a critical piece that we needed to incorporate, then we would put it back in. But we took that out, it saved us $5,000, and we wanted to utilize that $5,000 towards better and more creative play. So some of the play units that we've added in also are, you know, there's where you can actually climb. There's climbing structures, and they allow you to do different things where you can actually climb up and around them or climb through them. You can have a multitude of kids on them. We tweaked this design multiple times. And then in the middle of our playground, we wanted to put in a music area that was accessible for all children and anyone could walk over there. Even a parent could just start banging on stuff. But we wanted to use, it's actually precision, what's it called? Percussion play. And that play, we have a music area here, but it just has panels from Miracle Recreation because it's a CAD design and they can only do so much with their Miracle Recreation CAD design. But we're using this playground equipment. And so it's actually metal bars that kids walk over, and they actually provide true sound. So our music area will actually have real sound qualities. We also have drums, and these are state-of-the-art. It's been in the UK for a very long time, and it just came to the United States in 2013. So we wanted to incorporate that into our playground design. So it allows kids to just walk over there or be pushed over there and actually have a music area, but it was, you know, it actually provides real sound. So it's not like banging on plastic, and you have more of a capacity for it to get broken. So so we wanted to incorporate that. This is much more expensive than what, you know, plastic would cost. So we wanted to make the playground as usable as possible and durable. So, and to use the best equipment that we could. So we kept tweaking and tweaking. So there's a few things that we took out, such as the sand area. And that's why the basketball court, we needed to find out what the approval process, and for the picnic pavilion. And but our playground itself, if those components aren't added, is still going to be an awesome playground. It'll still be a great playground for the children. It'll accommodate kids from 2 to 12. It'll still have swings and a multitude of play options. It'll accommodate over 100 children at a time. So it still gives the town a great playground, and it's unique. You will not see this in Connecticut. Any other town that has incorporated any of our new metaphysics line of play might have incorporated a slide or the merry-go-round unit, just little pieces. They don't actually have a playground that's as inclusive as we have it. So it'll be very unique. You won't see this in any other surrounding town.
When is the work supposed to begin? When do you?
They're actually creating the equipment now, and then Terry got some updates from John today.
Yeah, so I went up to Newington, met with John at Creative Rec, and just to kind of go over the time frame since the purchase order was cut last month. So the next steps would be to have a meeting with Public Works and Creative Recreation this month to discuss about the site work. Fortunately, the location, as was one of the reasons why we picked it, requires minimal site work. No trees need to be removed. There's not a lot of heavy brush. There are 2 containers currently on the property that I think belong to Woodbridge Recreation that we would just have to find another location for, which I'm sure we could. And then, so the site work should really only take a couple of days just to kind of push some dirt over to one side, and they can break ground in the winter. We were really excited to learn that they don't have to wait until the spring for a frost, for a thaw, to do the work. So we're looking hopefully at a February 1st groundbreaking, and the project should take about 3 months from concept to completion, which would put us in a late April, early May ribbon cutting ceremony. The bricks will be installed closer to the end as well, at the end of April.
So I would just like to suggest, if if there are changes that the board feels are necessary that we vote on, that we do that now and approve it, because I would hate to see this delayed. So I would make a motion that we approve the plan as presented. Now, I'm not sure if you're presenting the basketball and the picnic area as part of the plan, or that's something you're still looking into.
We would like it to be part of the plan for approval, but if we can't secure outside funds, complete outside funds where we all-inclusive funds, then it will not happen.
Okay, then I will make the motion that we approve the plan as presented by Terry and Colleen.
All in favor?
No, any
Discussion.
Any discussion?
Yes. So with the basketball, I just want to clarify a few issues. And the picnic area, we still fit within the 150 by 150?
Yes, that was one of the things that we did with John, was we wanted to make sure that when we created a CAD design, that CAD design could, we didn't want it to be an afterthought. So if we add in a playground piece, such as another pirouette or something, it'll still be within the confines of the space. And we didn't want to exceed our boundaries. So we wanted to ensure that the basketball court and the picnic pavilion would fit within our confines of the space that was allotted to us.
And the musical component plus basketball, I'm assuming it's not so loud that we have to worry about a resident or residents in there. Okay. I have a question. I don't know if you looked at it. I'm assuming that the playground we have now currently on Center Road is protected by a fence because it's near a road. But the playgrounds at the school are not protected, and that's where the only other outdoor basketball court is at Beach Road School. But I'm assuming we don't need a fence. This has been looked at. I just wasn't part of that discussion. As far as liability insurance, we don't need to protect this playground with a fence at all. Is that correct? Or that's something you've looked at, or?
Well, we, in doing the research for the playground, looked at a number of different playgrounds around the state, including town playgrounds and school playgrounds. And it really varied. The ones that had fencing around them were located off of main roads. We felt that AP's road wasn't considered a main road, and even so, it's so set far back from the road, and there's a natural tree line which we wouldn't disturb, that we didn't feel was necessary. Instead of doing a fence or a wrought iron or a chain link fence separating the playground from the parking lot, we were speaking with a local landscaping company who decided that they would like to contribute to the playground and donate shrubs. So we were going to do a natural barrier. And I thought, long-term maintenance for the town, very minimal, because it's natural shrub border.
Outside of the 151 by 158?
That's actually inside. The shrubs pictured here might look a little different. It depends on, what they're willing to supply, but it's the trees that are already in there. So just again, low maintenance, low, growing shrubs, just to border the parking lot. And, that would kind of keep the cost down, and it would also provide some type of barrier.
Tony, Anthony, center field, when it was put together, it's adjacent to a parking lot. Right. It's within 100 feet of a main thoroughfare. It needed to be secured so that children couldn't dash out into a parking lot or into the street. So that's why that's secured. West River Field is secured because there's traffic along three sides of it, and it's secured with a playground there because it's within so many feet of the parking space and the cars that can drive around. So that's the main fear. But if you're back away from like Beecher Road School in the back, you don't need to have a professional fencing system to hold it in because there's no thoroughfare movement of cars within the area.
Okay. Tony, just to follow up, you've also been working with Terry Gilbertson on any building issues,
Yes.
and he's approved all.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, my last
He actually
issue,
suggested this location to us.
my last issue as far as the motion goes, the only thing I heard that I have concern with is the notion that if somebody comes up with, privately says, hey, I've got $5,000, I want to add a sandbox now, that any alterations or changes from this original plan that are proposed come back for approval, and not just if somebody comes up with money, they can build it. So this is this proposal, but any additional changes should come at least back in front of us for us to review.
Yeah, and just to elaborate on that, and I definitely agree. We certainly don't want to have it kind of open for the town to kind of pick and choose which components are going. In the process of making phone calls to sell the bricks and only the bricks, one of the businesses that we contacted said, well, we'd certainly be interested in doing a donation, but something much more. And they had asked about maybe doing some type of picnic pavilion for families, and they had donated a significant amount of money for Bethany's picnic pavilion, and said if we were willing to donate the same type of amount, would you be interested? And so that's kind of how this whole conversation got going. And then similarly, another family in town had suggested interested in donating money for the basketball court. Also, it's small scale, not kind of like what it looks like here, where it would be, Harlem Globetrotters coming here. But
8-foot hoops.
they're actually they look pretty big on here. They are, adults could play, but they can be lowered for 5-year-olds.
They actually have an adjustable, yes, exactly, which the town would have and maintain, so they can actually be lowered down and locked in. So if the town, if somebody wanted to, use the space for an activity or whatever, if it was an organization and they wanted them to be raised up a little bit, then it can be raised, but it could also be lowered and stayed at whatever height the town chooses.
You're not selling any naming rights, are you?
No, we are not. Yes. The only thing that with the bricks is if somebody does actually, the company that did the basketball court at Bethany Veterans Memorial, we would not be putting names on anything. We will not have logos on any of the equipment, but they'll just get a brick and it'll be in the pavement. Okay. So it'll just say that this a pirouette was donated by whoever, or
like the walking trail at
exactly.
the beach.
Yes,
correct.
exactly.
Yeah, and we will have
and
signage.
It'll only be
right. We have we just determined our corporate level sponsorships, since we're speaking with other local businesses like Coldwell Banker and People's Bank and a lot of the local businesses downtown Woodbridge, and we found that there are a lot of people that are interested in doing more than just a brick, so we've created a corporate level sponsorship, and we'll have signage of that.
Yeah, if we can just put that caveat in that, so that somebody doesn't think I'll put some money up and we'll put a structure up without
You don't want
the
to
town.
have a Coca-Cola picnic area?
Yeah, I don't even want a pavilion without the town getting to look at it.
But to clarify that, are we approving the basketball court now?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes,
so
we
the
are.
basketball
We're approving
court
the
now,
basketball court.
anything in addition to that, they have to.
As presented this evening.
Yeah.
Right. All right, any other comments or discussions? All in
Oh, yeah,
favor?
one more, I'm
You
sorry.
want- oh, that's
As of
okay.
right now, we're not paying for the basketball court, right?
Right, we're not paying
You're not
for it.
paying for this.
None of it. Paying for none of it. Right. Right. Okay.
The only thing that we do remember is the selectmen did, when we first proposed this process, yes, exactly, but the board at that time was very much in favor of the board members donating
A bench.
a bench.
Right.
So if that's something that you're still interested in, we would be happy to continue with that, but
Get out
it's
your
up to you
checkbook.
to decide.
Problem, we weren't part of that board.
Unfortunately,
It
we'd
looks
like
like
you
it's
to
gonna
know
be
that
just
opened
you.
your mouth.
Open your mouth.
It looks like it's just gonna be you
And
three. You're the only part
How
of the
much do
board.
those benches cost?
And those
I'll make
benches
the
are
motion right now. We'll see who
$1,500,
wants
and
to.
that's with,
$300.
with site work and installation and, surface material around them, yes.
You want
It's
me to make
actually
that
cheaper,
motion?
it's actually cheaper to
$300.
put in a
Get the
picnic
check.
table, which is only $1,000,
Make it.
so.
That would have to go over.
Yeah, we'll have to,
But
No, I thought that was
I
personal.
thought it was personal.
that was actually, yes, I think that was a personal
Personal,
donation.
yeah,
That was the board at the time, we're not
Right.
saying that
so we'll have
you
to,
know.
I do remember it, but
Still
I might have been
committed
the
to
only
that.
one here.
You better
We
call
just
back
thought we
Greg
could
and
throw it out
Tom.
there, we could use a few more benches.
Did you want 2 benches, Lawrence?
Each one of them.
All right, so the motion has been made and seconded with the caveat, all in favor?
Aye.
I'm voting aye with applause.
Yeah. Good job.
Great job.
Thank you, guys.
Oh, don't forget.
And we'll move on to, we do item 4. Okay, all right, we're moving on to item 4, discussion of the CCW pool operations. And
You guys go for it.
Yeah, you're up. So, as we move forward in the budget process, and with the new arrangement at the Country Club, we're coming up with a budget for a facility, and one item that also needs to be discussed is the pool. So, and what the town will do regarding the pool, and so we can get some direction in terms of the budget and putting it in the budget process for your consideration. So we thought we would bring Anthony Taddy and John here to discuss sort of the pool and how it operated last year and just some thoughts about that. So I don't know if you want to.
You're up, Holmes.
Well, in the past 2 years, the Billy Casper has overseen the whole country club, and our relationship at the pool and Billy Casper has been a really good, tight-knit relationship. We've worked very hard the past couple years. Last year at the pool, we had the the largest number of people come and utilize the pool in the past 15 years. People are happy with the service we provided, happy with the programs that we had, and very eager and ready to sign up again. Tons of people are calling me, when can I sign up for golf and pool together? I'm really excited about the partnership where the pool would be underneath the recreation department. We work very well together, and I'm really looking forward to really the town moving forward in one central direction. When I say one central direction, and when the town first took it over, Mr. Manchetti ran the club for the town, and he was looking to do well for the town, but also to look to also gain something for himself as a private company. So where the town was running the recreation department, I think we were going in the same direction but a little bit apart. And right now I think we're funneling into a much better road where it's going to benefit the taxpayers of Woodbridge and the town.
Yeah, I see it as a joint venture. I think it's going to be really good for the town. We have an indoor-outdoor pool. We were sitting down talking, Tony and I, about, you can have an indoor-outdoor fee. You can have a combined fee. We could work together. Recreation. Now, like he said, when the other enterprise had it like this, it depleted some of the recreational funds that we put towards what we look for. We come up with a budget, and then we see how much we're going to knock off. We come up with like $250,000 or more. But we lost about $9,000 when Mr. Teddy had his camp, and it went in an opposite direction. Now, as a combined unit, it would come together, and no matter where the money's coming from, it's all coming back to the town. And I think we can make this work. We can make this a viable thing. We can do a lot. We were looking at not only just the pool, but the whole area over there that the town has taken over, that recreation can do a lot with. I think it's going to work out fine. And
I'm just personally super excited about what this will bring for the town of Woodbridge. It's a tremendous asset. I mean, as things are shaking down and taking different pictures, I think we're moving down the right road, and we're excited about, in 10 years, what the picture would be like for the town of Woodbridge. As Dr. Stella knows, people move into the town for the school system. They want to come to the school system. Well, I just think that adds a whole nother beautiful piece to the town of Woodbridge, where they can have an indoor pool, an outdoor pool, and be serviced in lots of different ways.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it and you see he has 143 families that belong to his pool, that I don't know how many of them belong to our pool. But if you take that pool of 143 families and you initiate a price figure where you can fit into both things, so you could be indoor and outdoor. If it's raining outside, you can come use the indoor pool. That would just grow. If you had a little tiny more fee to it, it would just add to our income, and it would support both programs could support each other. And we work together, and we also work together with the golf. Casper was very good with us, allowing us to bring our kids over, and they go over there and they'd learn, get a little bit of a lesson, and then they'd hit off the tee and they'd practice, in the golf range like this. So we work together with them already. So we've had a pretty good relationship.
So what's your next step then? What do you think the next thing is that has to happen?
Well, the one thing is we'd have to put a budget together.
Well, that's what I'm
Yeah.
asking. I mean, nobody's talked about what the actual pricing would be, or.
No, we haven't talked about, everything is in theory of what we would like to do, what we could do like this. What Anthony and I have to do is sit down with Tony, we have to sit down together.
Well, that's what I thought.
And the
but
commission.
We've already had discussions, so that's where I was kind of getting.
Oh, these are backroom
That was just
discussions, we were backroom
backroom.
talking about this.
We're throwing spaghetti.
Actually, it was in this building, in that back room. There were no skunks though, not a single one in the room.
Well, that's what I figured.
If I could just set a little context, I mean, since we have the amended agreement with Billy Casper Golf, and it's clear that Billy Casper will not be running the pool, we thought it was important that the board make a decision about whether or not we will continue the pool operation and continue it under the rec department, which seems the logical place for it to be. And we thought it would be good for the board to hear from, Anthony, who's been running the pool, and John, who would, be the liaison here with rec, that it could work together to present the information so that we can make that decision. Because it's important, I think, for pool membership and for many other things that are going on, that we make this decision quickly. So that's why we brought it up tonight.
So we're looking tonight, or they're looking for us to ask the town to continue the operation of the pool.
No.
And you guys are gonna develop them.
Tonight? Yeah. No.
Well,
I don't have any data.
I have a
How are we
page
gonna-
of questions
how are we
that I'd
gonna
like to
do that?
start with, and then we could
Okay.
work through some of those. To Susan's point, mine goes back a little bit deeper than, have they come up with pricing? Have we decided who's gonna be in charge of pricing? Are we gonna let, for example, Tony or Rec, who's just gonna be responsible and allowed to come up with pricing?
Well, can I make a suggestion?
So I don't know where.
Before we even get into those weeds.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
I mean, that's
no
why
structure
I
here.
just wanted clarification on the forest, if you
Yeah.
will.
I don't
Because
think there's
Let me just
structure in
interrupt you
this.
1 second, though. Let me just interrupt you, because it seems to me, we wouldn't even be having this discussion if we didn't already have the continuity of Mr. Taddy. If this was just Casper dropping the pool and saying, we're not gonna be involved, with all due respect to recreation, it's a big program to kind of just pick up. And given that we have the continuity, it seems like it's possible. Am I right? Does that sound right to everybody? I mean, it's sort of where I'm coming from with that.
I think
So-
it's possible. I'm just saying,
But this
I don't
just
think we've
happened
put any
3 days
structure
ago.
in place that we could start talking about any weeds.
But this just happened 3 days ago, so.
Well, but it sounds
Ellen
like we're
just said
approving
we
it tonight.
were here to listen to determine whether or not. There's nothing on this agenda that says action was going to be taken. I mean, my thought was we were going to listen to these fine gentlemen, hear what they had to say. I hate to be the guy that always uses the word plan, but where's the business plan? Where's the pro forma budget? How many members do we have? Where's the data?
I understood Tony to say it would be folded into the budget process.
Well,
If-
well,
and
then
so
how-
if this board is in a position to approve
So how
tonight,
could you? You don't know whether when
conceptually, then it gets folded into the budget process that the recreation department builds, as every department does.
This spring.
So,
Okay, so structurally, if we start with that, because I think before we get into who's doing pricing, let's just looking at the structure. Because again, we're basically hearing this tonight, we haven't heard a word of this before. Are you saying structurally, recreation will be in charge of the pool club? Is there, first of all, is there tennis attached to that, or are we gonna forego the tennis? I think that's a big issue as well for people
Tennis
who
is
might
an
be
open,
members.
I think tennis is an open question still right now, I should say. We don't have, Tony has been working on numbers and data on the pool. We're not quite there. I think. We're not quite there, but he's working on it. I don't think we're as far along on tennis,
No,
if I'm
we're
correct
not at
about
all,
that.
no.
And to your point, I will just say, initially when we put this agenda together, we did think we'd wait another month, but as things are evolving, it's become very clear that time is of the essence in terms of membership, in terms of moving ahead, in terms of working with Billy Casper and coordinating. And I think, and I hope the board will think, that we do have enough information to say, this is the road we want to take. We would like to see the pool continue. We would like to see the town operate the pool. The Recreation Commission and the Recreation Department are open and enthusiastic about doing it. And then it will be up to Tony to work with Anthony and with Recreation to come up with a proposed budget, and we'll get to review that and the details in the
I'm
budget.
just not sure that you could come up with membership. I mean, the idea of doing it quickly would be to hopefully gather a few members early on. And in this month that we would be trying to save by voting tonight, I'm not sure how many members you can gain, especially since you don't know if there's even tennis. So I don't know how you come up with pricing, because we have competition right here. One of our bigger taxpayers in town offers pool and tennis. So I don't know how we come up with pricing if we don't even know if tennis is an option. I also don't know about the numbers yet, how many members. One of the concerns I have, to be honest with you, is something John said. It sounds great in principle, which is maybe offer something indoor, outdoor, but to be honest with you, John, come summertime, I have a lot of concerns about cars going in and out of the pool, since you run summer camp outside where those cars, where the pool area is. And I would have concern about if you're a member and you can just drive over to the indoor pool anytime you want in the summer when you have all the kids in camp outside. I have concerns about
Well, the indoor pool is not open during camp.
But you're saying
The indoor pool
the
is
indoor
not
pool
open.
would be open to the members
It
if
would be
they.
open to the members when our time is open, and we don't open
So
up
it wouldn't be
indoor-
open during the summer months of
It's
camp?
not open during the 6 weeks of summer camp. Between 8:30 and 12:30, actually we have lessons till 1 o'clock. So the pool doesn't open up till almost 2 o'clock.
Okay, so during that 6 weeks.
6 weeks,
of-
there's no
during the
access
summer,
to the public to
there
come
would be
onto that
no
property
because I
except
would
for
have
summer camp.
Okay,
Except for summer camp.
fair enough. And going back to the structure, I don't know how I can vote on it, not knowing. I think I just heard John say, but maybe Tony can give me a more definite number. How many members did we have, and how many of them were from Woodbridge? You know, like we're going to benefit Woodbridge residents, but how many total members did we have at the club last year?
Tony, can I
Just
speak
sure.
in?
Go ahead. Yeah, if you know the-
I don't know exactly, but I do know, I'd say at least 60 to 65% of our members were from Woodbridge. And then there was a good portion, the next was, the higher was from Bethany. And then we did attract several families from the Pawgasa Club.
And about how many members do you think, Tony, we had, or family memberships, whatever, however you break it down?
I think it was about, we set a cap of about 150 families members, and we had about 142 as a number last year. You know, so we were setting a cap because we were worried about too many people coming to utilize the pool at one particular time.
So basically, you figure about 90. I'm just using that as a round number. Were Woodbridge residents.
Yes.
Yeah. See, when I
It's less than 1%.
yeah, right, it is less than 1%. You know, when we talk about it as a benefit for Woodbridge, it becomes a subsidized benefit for 90 or 100 people. Is it possible to expand that number of Woodbridge residents, or expand it, period? What is the max?
I think it's an economic benefit for Woodbridge, isn't that what we're saying?
How do we know that?
No, I don't know.
How do
I'm
we
not
know
sure about that.
You
Well,
would
how
have
do we
to,
know unless we do the
you'd
numbers?
have to see the information to determine,
Right.
that information.
If I-
First,
Is
before we vote.
the town subsidizing this in any way?
Well, taxes, if it's,
a membership.
well, what I'm hearing is, and again, you're coming to us without numbers, but what I'm hearing, and if we're gonna vote on something, is I'm using my memory best served by Casper and Jason telling us that he believed that the pool club was profitable of upward of $20,000
About 30,000.
for the season last year.
$30,000 last year. Yeah.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is we maxed out, at least last year, what we thought we could take in for membership. We basically came close to maxing out. So am I looking to hope to max out membership just to basically break even or make a little? I also haven't heard about, I'm assuming that included food. They ran they had food there. So I know that Casper said they were not going to use a joint service. So the food from the pool club snack bar is not part of any of their dollars.
No.
So would they be running food? Because I know Casper said they wouldn't want to share a food service. Would they be running a snack bar? Would there be a towel service? I mean, those are just basic
This is
questions I have that have money
They're all very good
implications.
questions, and I think a complete plan with a budget and an operational plan is what you're looking for, and that's what we want to put together, assuming that you think that's the direction we should go.
Including any capital costs that may be.
Capital costs in the future, there's facility costs that some you'll have, some will be additional depending on, what the facility costs are. There's some that are gonna be there regardless of whether you do the pool or not.
Right.
That there are some that may be added to based on the pool operation.
And maybe Tony Taddy is the best person to ask this question. Tony, do you know of any capital expenditures that you see that to open this club this year, is there something that needs to be done at the pool? Forget the tennis for a minute, because I know that's in big disrepair. But at the pool area, pool club, is there money? I mean, is there a $10,000 to say, well, that would fix what we need? What would be the costs for startup? That in your mind, is there something out there that needs to
I'd
be
be
done?
glad to answer that, Tony. Do you mind if I just make a comment on the cap that we had last year?
Yeah.
One thought I'd like to throw on the table is that I'd like to get that 150 number cap off the table. I think it was put at a number there so that we weren't, we had a certain number of chairs. And let's just face it, if we have too many people at some point in 2 years, that's going to be a really wonderful problem to have. So I don't think we should have a cap, especially if we're trying to service the people in Woodbridge, so that if...
So it wasn't an insurance number or a liability number that said we can
No.
only have 150 people on that area?
Right, and we were just very, very lucky that we got families that had little babies that wanted to come at 6 o'clock at night when the sun came down, and some people who came in the morning time and midday, those kind of things. And so Tony, your first question was regarding I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought.
Well,
Capital expenditures.
Anything you
This
see to
year,
open.
we do not need any major capital expenses at the pool. The chairs are in good quality. There are a couple small repairs on the chairs. We did repair on the heater. We did some repair on the main pumps. The kiddie pool is fine. It has 2 state-of-the-art drains, code compliant, with anti-vortex covers. Other than that, I mean, there is down the road, we might have to resurface the pool. That's something that may come down the road, but next year I do not see any major expense at the pool.
Well, can you just answer me, because you would know best?
Yeah.
Towel service, how does that work? What kind of number is that? Is that a larger number? Or is that
Well, I think there's a cost of buying the towels. Right now, we have roughly about 350 nice pool towels, and then we also have 100 other smaller towels. And there is a cost associated with the propane, the water, the electricity, the dryer, the staff to wash the towels. So there is some money linked to that. I just would like to make a comment that I think a lot of members, or at least what we try to do, is separate us from other facilities. The number if you went to join the Paugussett Club, it's about $1,800. We've attracted several members from the Paugussett Club to our facility. The Paugussett facility resurfaced their pool and redid their entire pool for a couple $100,000 about 4 or 5 years ago. The contractor that does all the service at our pool, which is now Greg McMillan, who used to work for Brock Enterprises, now he redid the Paugussett pool. We attracted several members from Paugussett. Number one, they love the towel service. They like the pool. Is our surface of the pool better than Paugussett right now? I would say no. The quality of the water and the chemistry that our staff does, I would say yes, at that level or above. So, and we think about a fee structure. I know Tony's been working on that, and I totally agree with him. He wanted to present a total package, but he's been asking a lot of questions. But like the Woodbridge Club, if a family joins that, it's $1,700 to join the Woodbridge Club, plus a $1,700 initiation fee. Last year, a pool membership was $1,150 for a family in-town resident. So I would assume that any pricing structure, if we were going to keep similar the towel service and those kind of things, that there's definitely room for increase. But I would hope that the board would take a look at that increase and not go like a 70% increase. Keep that number. So I think we try to, at least at the pool, keep the same kind of air as it was when it was a private club. And I think certain things just separate us from other facilities. I would still like to, and John will hear, run the pool as a business. For example, on our lifeguards, if it's a slow day, my lifeguards know that we will send some of the lifeguards home on a rotating basis. Now, it may not take a lot of money on our budget, but last year we were able, it was something like $3,300 of labor that we would have still had. And I would like to come before the town. I would be embarrassed if we ran the facility and we were $60,000 in debt. So we would run it, so hopefully we would have a profit. But just last year, I think having the largest number of people come and use the pool in 15 years says a lot. That we're doing something right. And, you know, I personally would like to see the Board of Selectmen in the near future, hopefully by the end of the month, give us a little guidance that we could tell families, yes, you can purchase a Twilight Golf League and you can purchase pool for this.
Well, back to the structure for a second, and thank you, Tony. You did answer a couple of my questions, but back to the structure for a second. You know, I continue to hear this shared, whether it's 2 pools or golf, and have we made any arrangement with Casper that we're going to be able to talk? I mean, that sounds like something that also would have to be arranged with Casper before we can say we can have a golf/pool membership combo anymore. I'm not sure we're going to be able to pull that off based on the last contract that was finished with Casper. I'm not sure they want to get involved.
Optimistic.
Exactly. I'm sorry if I
optimistic.
They'd have to have
do that
2
quickly.
separate memberships.
Not that we couldn't have the discussions with Casper, but I don't think we'll get to all of that in such a short time.
No, right.
I think the question is whether this is the direction we want to go so that Tony and the...
So I guess so to finish my sheet for structure purposes, recreation would then be also in charge of hiring, firing employees, or the employees themselves, and of course any hiring and firing, because somebody would have to structurally be in charge of that. Is that what we're saying?
Under the current arrangement, the Recreation Commission has the hire and fire ability for part-time folks used for camp and stuff like that.
For year-round employees.
Right.
For the lifeguards. For lifeguards, right.
Lifeguards fall
So-
under
This board does full-time.
Okay, so is there only one full-time, Tony? Okay, so there's one full-time. So basically, they would be in charge of hiring, firing, and they would submit a financial analysis to us, which would also include pricing that they'd like to see.
We'll work together to put together a plan that would have not only history, so you can see what history exists, and comparables, so you can see what comparable rates are in the area, but also pricing structure that would identify, what the expenses are and what recommended rates would be and how that would work in the budget, whether or not you'd have a surplus, and how much of the idea here is to be able to cover some of, although I don't think all of, the facility expenses, that maybe you can cover some of those that you may have anyway. Like there's security and there's water and there's heat and there's electricity and that sort of thing in the facility.
From a charter point of view, Tony, if I can say something, I thought that it was going to operate as if the Recreation Commission is operating now. It would be, they present to you every year a budget with all the other town budgets pursuant to the charter. Board of Finance gets to review it, you get to review it, and you vote on it as a package with all the other. This I don't think it's envisioned, and it's not necessary according to the charter.
Maybe
if it
not.
is under the Recreation
But
Commission
you're
to do it
there's a
separately.
difference here. This
I'm
is
just
business
talking about
now.
the charter.
Yeah, but now we're running a business where we're looking to actually make a profit, but it's a business on.
When you adopt a budget, when you adopt a budget, you not only does the board look at expenditures, but you also look at revenues.
So
They do it. They have a business now.
Under the recreation department.
I think
That's the
That's
question,
the
right?
question
That's what we
here.
want to do
Okay.
tonight.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
Just to put it there.
right.
Well, to put it
Right,
there
to-
and
Well,
let them go
recreation-
And to
And
move
authorize
forward,
Tony
to
to
move
know
forward.
they
The other-
first make-
Correct.
The other benefit of recreation, right, and the
Correct.
other
Right.
benefit of
That's from the
recreation
charter
is,
point of view.
the other benefit of recreation has the staff to help with the paperwork, with the payroll and the purchasing and the purchase orders and the experience to do all that efficiently.
And they operate a business now. They have programs where they get revenues and you approve their budgets every year.
And the Recreation Department, if I may, we finish, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But the Recreation Department also has staff currently to reserve and book town facilities. And that would again be the case in this case with the pool with the tent for birthday parties.
that gets me to my next point. The difference with this facility as well is this is a shared facility now. Now we basically are going to have 2 management companies. If you want to look at recreation for my purpose of argument, as a management company. We also have Casper in there. And they're sharing facilities, including the only bathrooms and locker rooms, and that tent that, though it looked like in the contract, we reserve the right to be able to use it. I'm not sure how well it's gonna go when pool members wanna rent, use it the day the golf course wants to use it. That's probably a little bit more of an issue, but I think the biggest issue being shared parking lots, and most importantly, shared the only bathrooms and locker rooms. And I'm sure they've dealt with this before. There's adults and there's children. And it's a fine line mix. But since upstairs is off
Wasn't it
limits,
always operating that way?
there was, it
Yeah.
is. However, one person now you have two people trying to basically make money, especially Casper, separate of each other, not necessarily in agreement with each other, because we may or may not have food. They have it. What that would do if they both had a snack bar, just smaller issues like that. But I'm saying for the first time we're going to have two management type companies, and also I'm looking at it as two layers. Basically the recreation would be the layer for this board between the pool staff, and whether or not we keep the CCW is a layer right now between Casper and us.
Well, I guess the question though, Tony, is are you willing to go to the next step to see how this might develop?
I'm willing
That's the question.
I'm willing to go so far to say let's get a proposal. Let's try to get the numbers together. Let's see what
Right,
can
and I
work
feel
out.
the question right now.
I just jotted down.
And I think I am too, but one question for clarity, because I haven't gone through this budget process specifically before, but if this goes into recreation comes to us with an overall budget, one line item of which is the pool. We don't vote on line items, do we? So we do. We vote on line items. Then I don't have a.
And then
this is going to be, they have the partner recreation budget. This will be a separate
Okay,
budget.
if it's separate and we vote separately, I don't
that's
have a problem.
that's what. And then the last point is, Tony, you talked about comparable pricing. One of the reasons I asked about pricing is, so I've been a member of the club, my children especially, for years, and we love Tony, and we use the club for a reasonable rate. But I also understand that we have taxpayers in town that are competitors, basically with us at this point, and I'm not looking to make a rate where we're just going to look to drive as many people to our spot maybe not at a profit, just to bring the business in. So I understand, and I do look for a comparable rate, not to be just let's cut it so low that we can do it, even though it benefits me and my children.
The budget.
So I would like to see those comparable rates when you get a chance.
I don't think anyone's proposing a rate reduction.
Well, we did that last year. To be honest with you, Lawrence, there was complaints from the.
In 2014, I don't think
Okay,
anyone.
but we did it last year, and there were some complaints from our taxpayers elsewhere in town that we hurt them, and that's kind of my point. I'd like to keep it more. We're not looking to hurt anybody.
kind of jotted down a motion, and maybe I could
All
move
right,
this
shoot.
forward and we could see what it sounds like and, fine tune it, whatever, okay. I'd like to make a motion or offer a motion that the town of Woodbridge continue the operation of the Country Club of Woodbridge pool under the Recreation Commission, and that Tony Genovese work with the rec department and Mr. Taddy to develop a budget as part of this year's budget process.
That's not what I heard. I was never told we're gonna vote that we're gonna continue with the pool.
What she made a motion, though, is that somebody's got to second the motion first.
Right,
I'll
but,
second the motion.
Now you have discussion.
Just have the discussion.
okay, discussion. I thought we were voting that conceptually, I thought we were voting conceptually that we were gonna authorize Tony to do the numbers and put it in the budget so then we could see all the data and determine and vote for whether or not we are going forward with the pool as run by the
So
town.
you don't want to,
I'm willing to authorize that. Well, let me tell you what I thought we were talking about, and maybe I'm somewhere between Joe and, or maybe I thought we were talking about authorizing, if this structure goes through based on numbers that we're going to be given, if it's something we agree to, but we're authorizing for now rec to be the person we would use to run this, if assuming we end up voting for the pool to, based on the numbers we're going to get in the next month. That's what I thought we were voting for. I thought we were voting for rec to be the structure, they can start having conversations. Tony and Tony and rec could have get together, do a budget, do analysis, bring us back numbers, bring us back proposal, and if it seems to make financial sense, then at that time we would vote on this is a go.
So do you think that's what Beth's motion said?
No, it's not what she said.
Maybe
She
I
said
heard
she-
it.
She made a motion to continue with, that we were gonna continue with the.
Let me hear it again, because I want.
Okay, that the town of Woodbridge continue the operation of the CCW pool under the rec commission. And that Tony Genovese work with the rec department and Mr. Taddy to develop a budget as part of this year's budget
Could I
process.
offer one just, that we would move to authorize?
It's just scribbled, so
Well,
sure.
let him hear what he said.
Yeah, no, just wording that would say we're authorizing, or we would approve, recreation as the commission in town to head up the pool operation if we chose to go forward with it, and to work with Tony Genovese to develop the data and the financial information and so forth into the budget, into recreation's budget.
Right.
So we can then vote on it within the budget process.
How would you word this then? I'm sorry, differently, just.
I just made that motion. The only difference is, I don't know, if you word it that we're moving to continue the golf course, I'm certainly not voting for that.
Well, here's what I'm hearing.
That's not what I'm voting for.
Let me take a stab at it.
Yes, go ahead, Susan, you're.
I'm sorry,
you're
the
up.
pool.
I'm hearing that the motion perhaps should be to move that the Recreation Commission conceptually be responsible for the continuity of the pool, subject to budget approval and further consideration by this board.
Further approval by.
The further, is that it?
That's fine. I have no problem with
Was that close?
it. Close enough for me.
So
That's right. That's what I thought. That's what I thought we were doing.
The one, I think that captures it, except I think what we want is the sense of the board that it's our intention to go ahead, to keep the pool going. I mean, there was a question, are we gonna do the pool, are we even interested? So that it's the sense of the board to continue the pool operation under the Recreation Commission, subject to the development of the budget and approval of the budget by the board.
So moved.
Okay. Do you have that, Jerry?
Okay, so are we gonna table my
But that's
motion?
right.
Oh, yeah, okay, so,
You're
so,
gonna,
That's not
She
right?
can make
You
it,
should
you guys
amend
can
the
second,
motion.
I'm voting no.
Oh, that's not right?
Not in my mind.
Then there's a distinction
Not in
here
these
that
two
I'm
I like
not
what you
getting.
said.
Continue.
I liked what you said because you left it open to assuming the numbers are good, this is something we can or we
but that
cannot
is
about.
the assumption when you get to the
But
budget.
what I'm hearing from Ellen's motion is that this is a definite.
It's very simple.
And I don't-
The
I
final
don't have
approval
any
has to be within the
numbers.
budget process, so anything that would indicate otherwise, I'm not voting for.
Well, I
But
think
that's fine, we can vote, we can
We're
go.
really only
I-
just asking to see the
Maybe-
numbers, you know, I mean, literally, we found out about this yesterday, and I didn't know any details until today. So, you know, I don't think it's a good governance to rush everything and vote on everything. I mean, I have to tell you, you know, I've been getting my packets later, I'm getting less and less information in them. It's harder and harder to come informed and have an intelligent conversation over these issues. This is not a small issue, and I'm all for the pool. I love Tony, I love the pool, I love that my kids go. However, I don't feel I'm doing anybody any justice by coming here, getting some information verbally, a few things, actually nothing in writing, nothing, not a word, not a number, and hearing, well, you'll hear about the process later, you'll hear about the budget and the numbers later, and whether or not we are proposing to lose money or make money. But in the meantime, vote for the yes, because we gotta do it right now, because we may gain an extra 10 or 20 members
Okay, but Tony,
in the next month. I just don't
You just said
think.
something very interesting, and I wonder if maybe this should be two separate motions. The first motion, perhaps, is whether or not it's the desire of the Board of Selectmen to keep the pool open and operating this summer. Because you said you'd like to keep it open, right?
Right, if it's-
So it's an expression of the
financial
intention. Then the second motion would be more in line perhaps with either what I said or Ellen said, that is that pursuant to that desire, we conceptually think that we approve the Recreation Commission as the authority for operations, subject to budget approval.
I like your
Perhaps
motion.
it's two separate motions.
I was actually happy with your motion the first time.
Okay.
I think there is a fine line with her motion, and
And that's why I'm
I
separating.
came down on your motion with a happy note.
Okay.
And I still would be. Because again, I want to see us move forward and get the information. I just don't think we should just be jumping in. I don't think it's fair to anybody to keep jumping in without,
You don't want to cannonball into this?
you know,
motion?
2 months ago, we didn't know if we were going to have a pool club or not, but I don't know if 1 month difference, knowing that we can start putting together numbers and trying like heck, I don't know if asking for a couple of days or to see a number before we vote is unreasonable. I think it's unreasonable to be taking votes without any one of us having a number in front of us or having any, I have other questions. I mean, I don't know, has the liability changed at all? Is Casper take out their own liability? These are questions that may be basic. I don't have answers. And to vote on something yes or no without literally a word in front of me seems irresponsible of the duty I took to come here for the residents of the town. I really need to know more information. And I may be the first one to submit the motion to do this next time. I probably will be, if the numbers make sense, but I've got to have something.
Well, I
And
don't
I'm
think
just
it's
not,
responsible to vote for a concept subject to budget approval. So I'm gonna, what do? Move the question, call the question, jump in the pool?
So
What's
what
the
is
What's the
right now?
question?
I
Someone
can
has
go with
to-
your two motions if you want to do them that way, and we can see if we get to.
Does that help anybody?
You want to read those back, Jerry, or?
Do it as two separate
Sorry.
I'll take them back on the tape.
Okay. Unless you remember them, Susan.
Well, I think these cough drops must have some sort of memory effect, because I don't even remember this discussion.
I don't know if has the liability changed at all. Does Casper take out their own liability?
Go back further, I'm sorry.
The first motion, I believe, was that the Board of Selectmen moves,
Well, the first, when you mean of your two motions,
the
the first motion is, the Board of Selectmen desires to keep the pool open
and operating.
and operate.
Okay, simple. Is that it? Does that cover that part of it?
Covers that
I'll
part.
second it.
Okay. Discussion. Somebody has to ask
Any
for discussion.
All in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All right, good. You,
No.
okay. So you don't want to keep the pool open?
I didn't say that.
That was the
That's
motion.
what the motion.
I know, I told you what motion I would agree to.
Okay, so that,
Right.
that one's done, that's
So
done.
number one has been approved,
Yeah.
5-1, okay. And the second motion is,
To authorize the Recreation Commission to be the operating authority, subject to Board of Selectmen approval, as part of the, and Board of Finance approval as part of the budget process.
Subject to the ordinary budget process.
Subject to the ordinary budget
usual
process.
Budget process.
They can run it.
Except that this is a separate line item, I don't know if that's ordinary or not, so I just want to make sure that's clear.
It is, in the ordinary budget process would be that the selectmen would review the budget first. You know,
This
they
line
see it
item.
first. And it'll be a series of line items along with all the other departments. This one will have a little more detail just because there's more here. It's the first time you're seeing it. It's a lot more questions.
And
So
we do
they'll-
take things out sometimes in the.
Sure.
on the line.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
right, okay, I'll second
Yeah.
this second
Can I
motion.
just clarify one thing?
Now we'll
I
have
mean,
discussion.
I just think that, but we just want to, I don't know if we have to say it, that the Recreation Commission will work with Tony to develop this budget. Do we need to say that, or that's a given?
No.
It's a given.
We do that all the time.
Okay.
Okay,
I accept that.
okay. Friendly
Second
amendment.
Because they're not the one thing, I can tell you that.
Okay.
I don't know.
Seconded as revised, right?
Yep, as amended or whatever, right? Okay, any more discussion on that second motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's unanimous, thank you. Anything else on that item? And I apologize.
You guys got a lot of work.
Thank you.
I'm
Yes.
sorry, can I just say,
Go ahead and do
and I may be out of place for saying this, but I know, just my perception is because I put a lot of personal time into the pool, is when the town took over, decided to buy the country club and to run the country club. We had one management company, then Billy Casper. But within those five years, there's been a lot of people that have really busted their backside to really make it work for the town of Woodbridge. And in my opinion, at the last year, when we had the best year ever in 15 years, and things are smoking, people are excited about it from several towns. It would be, in my opinion, just a grave disservice for the town of Woodbridge to kind of stop it with all this momentum moving forward. I totally agree on the numbers, and I totally agree on everything has to be in place. But I just wanted to say that to the Board of Selectmen because there's been a lot of people really working to make this work from when the town took it over. And I think having the Recreation Board and we're working together will just enhance that.
Tony, so to answer you for a second, as you know, I have been a member in my kids, and I'm extremely happy with it. However, in fairness to what you said, you have to understand from where I sit at least, even though I use it, and I love it, and love having it at a reasonable rate, my neighbors don't. And there's more of my neighbors that don't than there are. And though 90 of us families in Woodbridge used it, and hopefully most, or if not all of us, loved it, there's another 9,000 residents to consider that don't necessarily feel the same way. So I completely agree. You do a wonderful job. I never have anything but the best thing to say about you, because it's because of you that they come, and that's a fact. However, I'm trying to keep in consideration to make sure the numbers are okay, that my neighbors that don't use it don't feel that somehow they're going to pay for it in any way. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. And I guess we'll move on to public comments. I apologize for 7:30. Is there anyone here from the public who'd like to make a comment?
Good evening, everyone. Donald Salato, 3 Knollwood Road.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. I hear the audible lack of wellness. My condolences and shared miseries. But I want to talk about another kind of sickness. And frankly, I think it's one that is infecting this body and hence our town. And that is a pattern now of government that is behind closed doors, clandestine, held in secret, and out of earshot, out of eyesight, out of participation of the citizens of this town. We just spent 40 minutes talking about a worthy enterprise which at its height generates $30,000 in gross revenues. And yet, this board and the Board of Finance in the last 2.5 weeks or so, and prior to that, have been engaged in closed-door negotiations involving the golf course property, which, as we all know, is a matter of the gravest concern, presumably to this board, certainly to the town, presumably to the Board of Finance, most certainly to the people of Woodbridge. Notwithstanding that, we get in the newspaper on Christmas Eve a register report about a change in the Billy Casper contract. Tonight, Mr. Zadamovich and Taddy spoke in front of this body and within this room as if we all know what the terms and conditions of this contract are. They haven't been put on the town website. I submit they were deliberately disclosed on a very casual news day, namely Christmas Eve, only to be topped the next day, Christmas Day, by the City of New Haven announcing that some tax deal had been worked out to the taxpayers of New Haven's acute disadvantage. That's not the way we should do business in this town. On December 13th, 2011, in an extraordinary show, 1,800 souls went out and voted in a referendum, 1,200 of whom said no.
I don't recall the first selectman, our first selectman, being around for that. But one of the lessons that I learned from that is that the prior administration, for whatever reasons, felt it the need to operate clandestinely, in secret, without input from the town for months and months. And people were highly offended and incensed by that kind of operation. It appears that that bad advice is being still followed. As late as last evening, at a meeting of the Country Club of Woodbridge committee, those members were visibly on TV startled to learn of what happened without their input. As a matter of fact, town council distributed copies of the agreement and then asked that they be returned, quote, because we don't want them floating around. A public document on a subject that is so vital to the welfare and well-being, economic and otherwise, of this town can't be floating around. This body owed it to the town tonight to have a special session in public to tell the people what the new terms and conditions of that agreement are. It hasn't even been posted on the town website. And that is a failure of government. And I noticed in the second sentence of the agreement, by the way, the agreement is on, for those of you, for the thousands in town who don't know and rely on secondary and tertiary sources for vital information. The agreement is on Billy Casper stationery, originally dated December 11th, signed by a representative from Billy Casper, signed on behalf of the town by our first selectman on the 19th of December. The second sentence reads, "We acknowledge and appreciate town's position that it cannot continue with the terms of the original agreement dated February 7th, 2012 with Billy Casper Golf, as the risk of continued losses to town in the operations and management of the CCW is unacceptable." Well, the light goes on. When did you find out that these losses were unacceptable? Did you know 2 weeks before the election? Did the chairman of the Board of Finance know 2 weeks before the election when prosperity was just around the corner? Why the secrecy? Why do we have an exposition of 40 minutes involving a $30,000 item be held in open and exhaustively when it deserves so, when a topic like this, which is a hot button in this town, is continually shrouded in secrecy? What is the harm in letting people know? Why should the agreement be collected after it's signed and there is an article in the newspaper, presumably put forth by this administration as some kind of triumph? Why, if it's such a good deal, is it in such secrecy? Why are we prevented from knowing its terms and conditions? Why was it not on tonight's agenda in specific detail so that the people of this town could know what we're talking about? Why do we have fellows from the Recreation Department come and start speaking about this new arrangement as if everybody knows what it is? I appreciate some answers. And Mr. Weiner, I think, has written your script, Madam First Selectman.
Can I take back my happy minute? Is there any other public comment? Okay. Now we'll move on to the Director of Administration and Finance report.
All right.
Tony.
Okay, thank you. The a report for the first 6 months of the year is a budgetary surplus of about $83,000, and that would be a 9.7% of our annual budget leaving us with a fund balance of $4.4 million at the end of the year. Our first section for intergovernmental revenues are projected to experience a $136,000 surplus this year. And that's primarily from two sources, which is a revenue sharing grant surplus of $41,000 and additional $120,000 in town road aid from the state. And there's some shortfalls in some state pilot grants of about $25,000, so that leaves you with your surplus of $136,000. In department revenues, there's a shortfall of $646,000. There's several factors here. First are there surpluses in conveyance fees, town clerk fees, and zoning permits, which are trending ahead of budget and are collectively going to generate a surplus of about $151,000. In contrast, golf revenues, which will be through December 31st, are projected to be about $651,000, which is a little shy of $800,000 short of the budget of $1.4 million. Because as of December 31st, we will stop collecting golf revenues because we no longer collect revenues under the new arrangement. So that's gives you the shortfall of $646,000. When we get to expenditures, I'll explain how they also both work together for that. Interest income is running slightly below our projections and is about $20,000 short this year. In expenditures, the Country Club of Woodbridge, for expenditures for the Country Club of Woodbridge are anticipated to be about $970,000. This includes expenses under the old, and I didn't, when I figured out this, I didn't involve the pool in any of this, so this assumes that there's no pool operation. The expense under the old Billy Casper agreement through December 31st is about $845,000. So that will leave you with, based on the budget of $1.4 million, that's, there's a surplus there. But in addition to that, we have a $95,000 payment for the first 6 months of the new contract, and about $30,000 in expenses related to the clubhouse. So if you add the expenses through December 31st plus the $95,000 for Billy Casper Golf for the first 6 months of the new year and the clubhouse expenses, you have about a surplus of $478,000 in the country club. So those three together equal the $970 that I mentioned at the beginning there. Hopefully that's clear to everybody. So if you take, there's basically three inputs to expenditures that total $970,000. Okay, there's expenditures for the first 6 months of the fiscal year, which were expenses under the old contract that we have to actually pay expenses. You have to add to that $95,000 that we owe for the first 6 months of the new contract because it's $190,000 a year. So there's two.
Right.
Also, you have to add $30,000 in expenses related to the clubhouse that formerly were paid by the Billy Casper contract, which are now the town's responsibility.
As of January.
Correct. It's January 1st, right?
That's the confusion from the halfway.
The halfway, so I had to
Fiscal
calculate
year.
that old half, the new half.
Not the fiscal year.
Right. And so you have there's electricity, there's heat, there's water, there's security, there's a whole bunch of things that we would need to for the clubhouse. So if you put all those together, you get $970,000 for the fiscal year, which gives you a surplus in that account of $478,000. So if you want to look at the country club as a whole for the entire fiscal year, you have a deficit in revenues of $797,000, which we mentioned on the first page, but a surplus of expenditures of $478,000 leaves you with a deficit of $319,000.
Okay. So
We
can I
haven't
take a
tested.
stab at this crazy man? I'm sorry. Everything you said makes sense. It just doesn't make sense to me. So I just want to try one simple math.
Sure.
And see if this is in a crazy way, just a little simpler way to put it.
Okay.
The way I looked at it is, and I don't have the numbers through December, but through November, we had a shortfall at the golf course of 134,481. Now I realize that might include some pool numbers because it was started in July. However, assuming that number, and assuming you take basically half of what Casper's contract is, because we're basically at the halfway point, so we're going to pay them between now and the end of June, the end of the fiscal year, about half, which is about roughly 100,000, a little less. So I figured that puts us at about 235, not including any expense, any losses that we see in December, which I think they did assume losses, so they probably, I'm sure, had losses, which basically puts me pretty much at your 319,000. So
You're both right.
yeah. So the way I did my numbers, or the way you do your numbers, bottom line is we shouldn't lose any more, nor should we really have a chance to gain any more during this fiscal year.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
That's correct.
I'm sorry you had to indulge that, but
That's all right. It's just that in the budget, they're split between revenues and expenses, whereas you combined.
Right. Yeah. So that's the only other area is employee benefits, which is about $65,000 surplus. So if you combine all those together, is a budgetary surplus of about $83,000. When I say budgetary surplus, keep in mind that that's on a budgetary basis, not on an actual basis, because actually we contribute $400,000 in the budget process from our fund balance. So this is assuming that contribution. Okay.
Does that show in this?
It's on the spreadsheet. If you look at the bottom,
This thing.
This one?
yep, look at all the way at the bottom. You'll see the 83.
Yes, see that.
Okay, so there's your
There's
$4.8
the
million.
102.58. No, that's the end.
So right. So what happens is, I'll explain that too. So we have $4.8 million in our fund balance at the end of the year.
Yeah.
Okay. So then you say, assuming this year we have an $83,000 surplus. Okay.
Right. Budgetary.
Budgetary, right. There's $102,000 in our fund balance that we use to offset the budget from Amity when we receive a surplus.
Right.
You'll see that in the budget process. If they have a surplus, the boards have historically assigned that to the following year to reduce the millage. In addition, we use $400,000 from our fund balance to offset operations. So you have to remove that from your calculation, which gives you your $4.4 million.
Okay, yeah, I followed that. I thought you said something about $100,000 that I wasn't, or did you say 400?
400 each year.
Right.
So, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't have it in front of me, but last month, I think I ended up asking you about that 10% unwritten rule,
right?
And we said were we not at like 9.2? So did we come up a full 0.5% there?
It's in the minutes.
I thought we were okay. Great.
We came up a bit.
I think we were, I don't know why in my head, because I remember saying, oh boy, we're about to go under 9.
It's in the minutes.
So in a month, we went up a half
The biggest
percent.
change, well, no, the biggest change was we had, our audit came in. So we had some audit adjustments to our fund balance.
Which were to our positive.
Which were to our positive, right.
Great.
Yeah. So we had some POs closed, we had some adjustments that I was estimating conservatively, that when the audit came in, they were a little higher. Yeah.
Okay. Anything else on that? Okay, thanks, Tom.
Okay.
Funding requests.
We do not have any.
Whoa. All right.
That's excellent.
Tax refunds. You want me to do that, or you do that?
I could do that, sure.
Okay, thanks.
There are total refunds for January are $7,919.31, as outlined in the memo by the tax collector. Real estate refunds total $6,825.02. Motor vehicle refunds total $1,094.29.
I would have asked for a motion to approve the tax refunds of $1,919.31 as outlined in the memo from Pat Crisco.
I'll move that.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next is the Woodbridge Animal Control monthly report.
Okay.
And there was a memo in the packet from Kathy Piccarello.
Correct, yep.
So hopefully
And
you all got it.
Yeah.
I think it came.
It should have come to everybody. Yeah, separately, yeah.
Right, exactly.
So the animal control responded to 47 calls.
Thank you.
Okay. 12 from Bethany, 15 from Derby, 20 from Woodbridge. One dog was, it's usually somewhat slow this time of year, but one dog was from Woodbridge was picked up and redeemed from the owner. There were 4 dogs, 2 cats from Derby, and 2 dogs from Woodbridge adopted. There are 6 cats and 4 dogs at the shelter and 1 rabbit. And we had 122 visits to animal control and 175 phone calls that were for, these aren't just every phone call that came in, these were phone calls that were actually for issues that had to be responded to.
I have 2 follow-up questions from last month.
Okay.
There was a couple of residents who spoke here asking that we give an update or that we give attention to trying to clear up what's happening with our ACO. And I'm wondering if there will be an update that can be given either to us or eventually to the residents, or is that a situation where we're still paying for that person not to be there? Is it?
We're waiting for the criminal case.
She's still on paid
Which,
administrative.
She is still unpaid. And so just to go hand in hand, because what I had asked us is, we're still paying at least some hours to the ACO from Seymour?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay,
She
so
still works
that's,
on a limited basis for us.
all right, so that's that follow-up. And the other follow-up I had was with Ellen, and I hate to make you talk right now, but we had talked about maybe you finding an opportunity to talk to either an area town, or more importantly, Bethany and Derby, who are already participating, and letting them know that there may be a funding process coming up, that we may need to spend some money over there. And, I still go back to maybe there's a town locally. I know that Paul down at Animal Control thought that they were in shape well enough that we could take another town, so maybe there's still another town that we can start talking to that may need, Seymour may be one. But I'm just looking to soften the blow come expenditure time down at the building that we're sharing really the use of with 2 other towns. And
Not equally, by the way.
yeah, I'm not necessarily proposing that I realize it's on our town property. However, we're doing their service as well, and so maybe if they know in advance, there's a number that makes sense for them to contribute towards the expenditures we're facing down at the building and for the
You're talking about the capital.
Like a capital.
Yes.
Maybe like
Well,
a capital
we've got
assessment
the
or something.
yeah, because we've got a roof situation there, and they've got some cage issues, and there's some money that's going to need to be spent soon. And maybe if we give them a heads up and let them know that in advance, it also helps them to budget for such a thing. And I'm not saying, again, like Joe said, that I'm looking for some kind of even split, but I do think they're somewhat responsible.
We're a mess over there. I know. Let's get down.
Okay, so if you could
But
just
we are keeping
take
an
a
eye
look
on
at
that,
that.
and any opportunities, and also we've talked about, particularly when the contracts expire, as we come to expiration of contracts, to talk to them about changing
What
if
is
we
the
can.
timing on that, approximate?
I don't recall, we talked about this, but I don't recall.
I believe it's an annual
They're
type of
annual,
contract.
It's a set term with an automatic renewal.
automatic renewal.
Unless
Correct.
somebody terminates.
Right.
On a fiscal year.
Fiscal
not
year,
sure.
yeah.
No, I
Is
don't know.
it- is
I
this
don't
full or
know.
calendar?
We started with Derby first, no, Bethany first.
First, yeah.
And I think theirs was 2 years with automatic renewals. That may be coming up pretty soon. And I don't think it was, actually, it was more than 2 years. It was when the regional animal control dissolved. Woodbridge decided to do it on their own. Bethany shortly thereafter joined us. So that may be up. We should take a look at it. It may be very close.
That might be a good time to have this discussion.
Yes,
Great.
absolutely.
Then take a look at the statute too, because there's nothing in there that requires us to have facilities. So we can keep putting money in it, but we don't have to do that.
We don't have to have a
You mean
regional,
have it at all?
we don't have to have a, no, we don't, right.
Just another way of attacking,
Right.
if we're gonna look at it, we can look at it fully in terms of an alternative way of
Absolutely.
providing that service.
Negotiated tactic.
Yep.
But it's a good point to look at that. The Derby one, I think, still has time, because Derby is relatively new, but Bethany may be close to the end of their term.
Anything else? on
Thanks,
that?
Tony.
Animals, okay. Any other? Okey dokey.
Okay.
No. Sorry. Now we move on to town council's report.
Very short report. This is the time of year when the town reviews the leases for the publicly owned properties for harvesting of crops. And thought just for purposes of clarification, let you know, see the agreement. We'll be soliciting new people to come before us to see who's interested. There's a charter provision, there's an ordinance provision that gives the Board of Selectmen the right to lease property, any town-owned property. That will get the authority. You have in front of you the procedure that was established 10 years ago by the Board of Selectmen. You have the form leases, and I just thought I'd answer any questions if you guys have questions. Pretty simple process.
Pretty simple. Do we typically, how many parcels do we have that are
We
subject?
probably have like 6 or 7 different farmers that actually do it.
On 6 or 7 parcels?
Well, some have 2, some have more than one.
Well, there's 2 fields up on the Elderslie property on Peck Hill. Then there's the Fitzgerald property, which everyone looks at as one parcel. It isn't really, it's 3 separate fields.
Okay.
Then there is the field that used to be part of the Shepherd Farm
Yes.
that the town purchased. Then there is the field that is adjacent, the lower field to the Darling House.
Okay.
I heard about 7.
And then it's Fitzgerald. But we mentioned
that's
three
Yeah,
parcels.
Fitzgerald. Can I just ask a quick question?
Sure.
What constitutes, or at least to our understanding for the contract purposes, harvesting a crop? How, is there so much that needs to be considered a crop? What do we call a crop?
We've never defined what they need to do, and frankly, I don't think anybody in the board has ever followed up to make certain that part of the
It's a
lease has
crop.
been fulfilled. For all we know,
Right.
some farmers are not even farming, you know.
Right.
But,
Just wondering
no,
if we-
Most
that's
of them
some-
use it to cut hay,
Cut
Yeah.
hay, right.
and some of the farmers,
So we don't put a requirement on them,
No.
it has to be 2 acres of hay or
No,
whatever,
no,
15
no.
bales, it has to be.
they do what?
So they kind of have their, as long as they're using the land,
Now,
farm
the only
land.
thing is
Even
though
that
they
if
may
you
not be
see
farming.
under guidelines under number 7, it can't be just allowed to be fallow.
Right, to have a covered crop.
It has to be a cover crop.
Okay.
Well, for many years, it was corn on the Fitzgerald property.
That's
Mhm.
right, that's what
Yeah.
Mr.
Sometimes
Shepherd,
it's corn, it's
And then it was hay.
Right.
It wasn't eating corn, it was animal.
I think it was for feed,
Side
right,
feed,
because it was
yeah.
very late.
Used to be all over the road actually at one point when it
Right.
used to.
A lot of bees.
Okay.
Anything else?
so at the next meeting, the February meeting, you will have a list of people that are interested in each particular parcel. You'll have a list of the parcels. You'll also have that, who has said that they are interested in a particular parcel, and you make a decision.
How do we give reference if there's 2 or 3
Lottery.
people
Well,
for the
you-
same
Lottery
property?
system.
That's rarely happened.
They do
It
have
happened
a
last
reference to
time.
It did
Woodbridge.
happen
I
last
think I was
time.
here.
Yes, we
sitting
do.
out there.
We give the,
Woodbridge first.
for Woodbridge.
And if there's 2 Woodbridge, then it becomes more of a.
A
Lottery.
lottery.
That's why we don't tell you the names ahead of time.
Okay. I do remember that last time. Okay. Sounds fun.
Thank you. Town clerk's report. We just acknowledged receipt, correct? Do we have to make a motion? I'd like to ask for a motion to approve receipt of the town clerk's report.
Second.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Approval of minutes?
I move the
move
minutes
this
for the
first.
December,
Thank
oh,
you.
never mind. Yes, I can.
You were
Move
there.
The December 11th minutes be approved as presented.
And second?
Second.
And I know you have
Under-
one agenda, I
under-
mean, one change.
I appreciate the attempted promotion, but
I do.
I was here.
Mr. Anastasio's listed twice.
No, I'm putting on weight, but it's not.
And I thought maybe, well, maybe Lawrence wasn't there, but then I'm
Well, we
going
might
along
have to
and
look at
you
the
made
tape.
some motions, so I know you were here.
You made
Let's jump
motions.
through
Yeah.
Yes.
So I knew you were here. Okay, are there any other changes, amendments? Okay, that being said, we have a motion, a second. All in favor as amended?
Aye.
Aye, okay, thank you. That's the only set of minutes, correct?
Yes.
Nothing else has been added on, okay. And I will, poor Ellen, feel better.
I can't say much,
I
but
know.
I do want to say one thing that first selectmen's report. It is Joe Hellauer's last Board of Selectmen meeting, and we want to thank you, Joe, so much for your service to the town. We'll miss you, but we know where you live.
It has been my pleasure and my honor to serve this town for the last 13 years. And I was going to say, when it got to my turn, I was going to say the following. Number one, my youngest son is currently in an airplane going from Chicago to Amman in Jordan this evening. He got home for 2 weeks, so we spent Christmas with him and New Year's Eve. So this has been a very good holiday season for us. The other thing is that I will still be your town assistant treasurer, which I will be my 13th year doing so, and that is as a volunteer. And that's the deal that we worked out with our first selectman. And last but not least, I will also be available primarily to Mr. Genovese, but to anybody else on the staff. If we have a question, I have been in the job 13 years, so I think I can help some, and that would be my thing. So it's been a good ride, and I thank you all for it.
Thank you, Joe.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you very much.
So no administrative officer report, that was it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Great.
Moving
That's sweet.
on, liaison reports. I'll start. And, the town plan and zoning meeting this past Monday was postponed to the following Monday, and the fire commission is meeting next Monday as well, so I'm going to have to clone myself, so I have no report as of this meeting. And Susan?
The police commission is meeting as we speak, so obviously I didn't go to that, but I did attend the Country Club of Woodbridge meeting on Monday, at which they reviewed the changes to the Billy Casper agreement. There were a lot of questions, but at the end of the day, I think everybody was my sense of it at least was that everybody was very pleased with the changes. They thought it was good. I think that there were some questions about what their ongoing role is, but that certainly was addressed by Ellen, who thanked them for their service in the past and their service going forward, because they are going to still have a role in all of this. And that was really the only agenda item, and it was covered thoroughly.
Again, I apologize for my late arrival, and because I was late, I missed Dr. Stella's presentation. I trust he briefed you on a unanimous vote by the Board of Education on a proposed operating budget for FY15.
No. He did not. He talked about the boilers.
Oh, the boilers.
Yeah.
Excuse me,
allegedly going to be operating Saturday beginning. Tested. They're still working. Not done yet.
The children, literally, the rooms are too cold. They had to move children from classroom to classroom.
Into the library, and that was pretty much his meeting. His
well, from the last Board of Education meeting, really the highlight was Dr. Stella's presentation to the board of his proposed operating budget for FY15, and after his comprehensive presentation, the board approved his recommendation with a unanimous vote, and so that will be coming to the town. And then there were additional presentations, I believe, about some of the standardized testing results. But the big thing was the budget, and it had full support of the board thus far.
Okay, thank you. Joe?
Monday, Human Health and Services, most of the time was spent on their budget. Their budget was also approved, will be coming to us, and they're hopeful they can do it on the 23rd slot, so I told them I'd say that. No advocating or anything, I'm just saying that. Other than that, they approved the budget, not much else.
Thank you. Tony?
I'll start with the easy one. Recreation did not meet in late December. They met before our last meeting, so there's no report there. Conservation did meet Unfortunately, they did not get quorum at their regular meeting, and that was the meeting they were intended on coming up with a budget to submit by January 3rd. So they had to hold a special meeting to try to come up with that budget. And they did set a meeting calendar for the year, and they updated some talk that I guess Jason had with our first selectman about the DEEP grant, and maybe that at one point it would be appropriate for you to talk to the Derby first selectman. I think we discussed that before. And that was really it, because they didn't have quorum. As far as economic development goes, they met December 12th, mostly about their budget, about discussions for the JCC rollout, so I'm going to give that a plug. Tomorrow, if anybody needs something to do, I'm going to be meeting with Economic Development Commission 3 times. 7:30 in the morning, 12 o'clock in the afternoon in New Haven, and 7 o'clock tomorrow night in this room for a meeting. 7:30 in the morning at the JCC is the website rollout.
Tomorrow, did you say?
That's what they
No,
wrote.
it's the 23rd.
Then they changed it, but it's still on their minutes and on their
I don't think
7:30
it's
tomorrow morning.
Don't go.
Well, they did
Especially
put it on their
7:30 in
last
the morning.
email on their minutes, and they probably shouldn't have, because
I'm pretty sure
it
it's
still
the
says,
23rd.
it still says you know. Okay, I'm actually downloaded it, so that's a
Maybe
problem.
we can get you on the second one. too.
Yeah, that's probably, no, the second one's 12 o'clock, there's a lunch in New Haven at the Graduate Club for the CED. It's basically the state has a speaker coming in to talk about economic development and ways to enhance it, that type of thing. So a few of the members are going, I did decide to go. And then tomorrow night they have listed as a special meeting at 7 o'clock to go over budgets and other issues that they're really working hard. They've got a lot of hours being spent. They're trying to run this ambassador program as well, which is basically they're all taking X amount of businesses in town, God bless you,
Thank you.
and going out to them face to face and saying, you know, here's some of the things we offer. What are the other things you're looking for? Do we get you involved in the website? So on and so forth. So they're trying to make face to face appearances with all the businesses in town eventually. And that may even include some home businesses, depending on how far they get and that type of thing. So they're working very hard between the website, roll out the work with the ambassador program, and this is, I believe, their first attempt at but it's newer to them as far as there's a lot of new members. So the budget process and a few others, they're putting a lot of effort to. Ellen was gracious enough to come to one of our last meetings, and their meetings last a while, so they put a lot of effort in. And that's it. And the only thing I would like to ask just very quickly is Sheila McCrevin from Coopop sent an email, and I believe I forwarded to you, and Coopop is wondering if they're supposed to have a liaison, and if not, if they, I guess, could have one. So I wanted to bring it up.
Get a chance
Yeah,
to check?
there is no liaison, there always was in the past.
I guess Craig Quinn was
Greg
last
Quinn
time.
was
She
the
did
We
write
just
on that.
never,
One was not appointed this time.
okay.
I offered to you if you want, because it's a Tuesday and I don't believe or not have a meeting on those nights, and they don't necessarily meet every month. I offered that if you want, because I handle conservation and she's the liaison, Sheila is for conservation, and they're trying to work hand in hand a lot more. They're sending someone back and forth to each other. So because I handle conservation, if you want, I will go to Coopop.
If you would like to, thank you.
Second. All in
It's
favor?
yours, Tony.
I see. Well, there we go.
Thank you.
You could do that for free?
Okay. Anybody have anything else, any other business? Motion to adjourn?
So
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job,
Feel
Matt.
better.
Very nice.